Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 1 to 4 player game Koi, designed by Rosaria Battiato, Massimo Borzi, and Martino Chiacchiera, and published by DV Games, who helped sponsor this video. Koi ponds are filled with fish that look just like flowers swimming in the water, and here you'll be challenged to create and expand the best environment for your colorful fish to enjoy. So, join me at the table and let's learn how to play. To set up, put this main board in the center of the play area. Then find the playing cards which have this back. If you have 4 players, use all of them. But if you have 3 players, go through them by their fronts, removing any with a 4+ in the corner here. If you have 2 players, which we'll assume we have in this video, remove all of them marked with a 3+ or a 4+, returning them back to the box. Either way, shuffle the playing cards you'll be using into a face-down deck beside the board, dealing 5 of them from left to right into the spaces for them, so it looks something like this when you're done. Within reach of the players, also create a supply of what are known as the water, foliage, expansion, and shore tiles, along with the water lily, lantern, coin, and luck tokens. In the supply area, also add the 3 sizes of koi tiles: small, medium, and large. If you have 4 players, you'll use all of the koi tiles, but if you have 3 players, return 1 small, 1 medium, and 2 large koi back to the box. If you have 2 players, like we do here, instead remove 1 small, 2 medium, and 2 large koi. Now each player collects one of these sensei boards in their chosen color, along with one of these spring tiles and 2 coins and 1 luck token from the supply. These are the summary cards. Each player will gain 1, but the person who most recently admired a pond becomes the first player, and they're given the summary card with this first player symbol on it. Or you can just hand this out randomly to choose a first player that way. Either way, using this chart found in the rulebook and on screen, each person collects the related items from the supply. The first player gains 2 water tiles, and then in clockwise order, each other player gains their indicated items. For example, the second player collects 2 water tiles and 1 small koi, and if we had 3 players, they'd gain 2 water tiles and a medium koi, and so on. These brown hexes on your sensei board are known as your storage spaces, and you now put your starting items into any of the empty hexes arranged as you like. Now find the goal cards, which have this back. They recommend playing your first game without these, but we'll use them in this video so you can see how they work. Shuffle this deck and then deal 3 cards from it face up beside the main board, returning the rest back to the box. Here we have the branches, statue, and waterfall goal. Each of the different goal cards will show additional unique tiles or tokens you'll include in your game. These are the ones we'll be using in this case. However, check your goal cards if you have a 2-player game. For each one that shows this symbol, return all but one of its pieces back to the box. The branches goal doesn't have that symbol, so we use all of its pieces. Keep the pieces for each goal near their related card on the table. And that's the setup. In Koi, you and the other players will be expanding your ponds and storage space, gathering coins and helpers, and filling your pond with beautiful lilies and koi fish, which will award you with victory points. Have the most victory points by the end of the game, and you win. The game is played over a series of turns, starting with the first player and then going clockwise around and around the table. And on your turn, you must choose to either meditate or work. So let's begin by seeing what happens when you meditate on your turn. Here you collect any 1 card from the main board. None of these have a cost except for the one in this position. The symbol below it represents a fee you must pay, a single coin which you return from in front of you back to the supply. If you cannot pay the cost, you cannot collect this card. None of the other options here have a cost. Instead, the symbols you find under each of these 3 positions represent a reward you gain when you take the related card above it. For example, if I took the card from this position, I'd gain this reward. Here we see the symbols for coins and water tiles, so this means I would collect 2 coins from the supply along with 1 water tile. Anytime you gain new tiles, add them to any empty spaces in the storage area of your Sensei board. If you didn't have any empty spaces left, then you just set the tiles you collected beside your board. As we'll see later, at the very end of your turn, you'll lose any tiles you could not fit into your storage area. But during your turn, it's okay if there isn't room for all of your tiles yet. Going back to the rewards that you'll find under some of the card positions, this one gives you two options, which are separated by a slash. You can either gain 1 coin and 2 water tiles from the supply, or acquire a single koi, which this symbol represents, and is also found here, where you'll find a list of costs for each type of koi. A small koi costs 1 coin, medium-sized kois cost 2 coins, and a large koi costs 3 coins. Just pick the type you want, pay the related cost back to the supply, and then collect the related tile. The art on the koi tiles might be different, but koi tiles of the same size are all treated the same way. Koi you collect are put into your storage area or beside your board if you don't have enough space. Finally, the benefits listed under this position either let you collect a single shore or single foliage tile from the supply. Whichever of those types of tiles you collected, again, they go into your storage area or beside it if you don't have any room there. We'll see how the various tiles you collect can be used later, but remember, during this meditate action, you'll also collect a card. There are a variety of different types, and we can see a few of them on the main board here. But let's take a moment and go through all the various types you'll find in this deck. The cards that show a single person in their illustration are each known as helpers, and there are 4 different types: breeders, builders, gardeners, and porters. They have effects on their bottom that resolve later in the game, so we'll discuss how they work at that time. But when you gain a helper from a meditate action, you simply take it from the main board and set it face up in front of you. As turns pass, if you gain more helpers, put each different type into its own column. You can even have more than one of the same type, and to save space, just overlap any extras you collect, keeping all of their symbols at the bottom visible. Along with helpers, there are other types of cards you might collect from the main board, like these, known as well cards. They have an immediate effect you gain once at the moment you collect them, providing you with coins and water tiles, unless you see a slash, which means you must choose to either gain the benefit on the left or right of that slash. Here's another type of card you can collect known as storage. When you gain one of these, also take a storage tile from the supply. You add the tile adjacent to at least 1 hex of your storage spaces, and as the game continues, if you collect additional storage, they can also be placed adjacent to previous storage tiles you had collected earlier. And be aware, you can rearrange your storage tiles following those rules as you like at any time. Extra storage allows you to store more water, shore, koi, and foliage tiles. And again, you can have more tiles than fit in your storage during your turn, but as we'll discuss later, at the very end of your turn, anything your storage area doesn't fit, you lose. Next up, we have rain cards. These provide you with the tiles they show, which you collect from the supply, in this case, 3 water tiles. But instead of adding them to your storage, when you collect these tiles, the arrow symbol here represents adding them directly to your pond. Your pond begins with this spring tile, and anytime you add new tiles to it, there are rules about how they can connect to each other. We'll go over all of those rules later, but for now, it's enough to know that any side of a water tile can connect to any side of your spring, or to another water tile. So as a couple of examples, this would be valid, and so would this. Again, we'll talk more about expanding your pond later. For now, let's go back to looking at the different types of cards you can collect from the main board. These are known as market cards, and after gaining one of them, the symbol here means you immediately pay for a koi tile, as we learned about earlier, but then this symbol here means you pay 1 less coin for it. So a large koi would cost me 2 coins instead of the usual 3, a medium would only cost me 1 coin, and a small koi would be free. All right, the final type of card you can gain is known as a parchment. There are a variety of different types of these, and they'll award you with victory points at the end of the game based on the other tiles or items in your pond or cards you've collected. We'll learn how these work when we learn about endgame scoring later. What's important to know for now is that any non-helper card you collect is put in front of you, just like helper cards. However, if it's anything other than a parchment, you resolve its effect once as soon as you collect it, and then you flip it face down. Parchments you collect do not have an immediate effect that resolves, but they are also flipped face down. That said, you're allowed to privately examine your face-down cards at any time if you need a reminder of their symbols. And that's how you meditate on your turn. Remember, if the card you choose comes from this position, then you must pay 1 coin first, then you collect the card there and resolve any immediate effect it may have. If the card is in a position that shows a benefit, you can resolve the benefit and then take the card and resolve it, or take and resolve the card first and then resolve the benefit below it. After meditating, slide all of the cards right to fill in the empty space and draw a card from the deck for the empty space on the left. That said, rather than meditate on your turn, you might instead choose to work. This allows you to pick any one of the 4 work actions shown here on your sensei board. So let's go through each one. This first one lets you place up to 2 water tiles from your storage into your pond. If you only had 1 water tile, that's fine, just add that one. The important thing to realize is that any tiles you place with this action must come from the ones you already have in your storage area. They do not come from the supply. Also, to help explain how tiles are added to your pond, as we continue, I'm going to set up various pond examples like you might see later in the game. A water tile has 6 water sides, and when added to your pond, at least one of its sides must touch another tile's water side. Every side of your spring tile is water, so it can be added to any part of it. And now this can be added to any part of your spring, or another tile with a water edge. A foliage tile also has water on all of its sides, so a water tile can be placed adjacent to it as well. A shore tile has water on all 7 of these sides, but all of its other sides are rocky. At least one of a water tile's sides must be touching water. So this would be a valid placement. Although it's touching rock, it's also touching water on at least one side, whereas this would not be valid. Moving on, as we see with this next action, you have 2 options to pick from. This one on the left allows you to move a shore tile from your storage to your pond. Shores have a unique placement rule. When added to your pond, the water hex side right here at its center must be touching a water side already in your pond. So as an example, we could place it here or maybe over here, but we could not place it here because although several of its sides are touching water, this one right here at the center is not. So this would not be a valid placement. Instead, maybe we'd do something like this. That said, when picking this action, instead of placing a shore tile, you may resolve this option. Here we see a luck token symbol, which means we collect one from the supply and put it in front of ourselves. And we'll see how luck tokens are used a little later. This also shows a lantern, which is also collected from the supply. Lanterns are never added to your storage, and when gained, they are immediately added to the center hex of any one of your shore tiles that does not already have one. Each shore tile can hold, at most, 1 lantern. And if you do not have a shore tile to place it on, then you cannot perform this side of the action, even if you just want the luck token. You could only perform this side instead. Next up, we have another action with 2 options to pick from. Picking this side lets you place a foliage tile from your storage into your pond. As we saw earlier, these have water on all sides and are added to your pond just like regular water tiles. At least one of their sides must touch another tile's water side. If you instead choose to perform this side of the action, you collect a water lily from the supply. You must then immediately add it to any one of your foliage tokens that doesn't already have a lily. If you don't have a tile to add the lily to, then you cannot choose this side of the action. All right, next up we have the final type of work action you can choose to resolve, and this also has 2 options. Picking the option on the left of the slash allows you to add any 1 koi from your storage into your pond. A koi must be placed so it has empty water underneath every part of it, and it's okay if it overlaps several tiles. Many tiles have water sides, but only water tiles and your spring tile can have koi placed on them. Koi cannot be placed on or overlap foliage, shore tiles, or other koi. If you're resolving this side of the action instead, rather than place a koi from your storage, you move one already placed koi to any other position within your pond following the normal placement rules. You'll find a reminder of all the placement rules we've now gone over right here on your player aid. We'll see the benefits of placing koi, lilies, and lanterns later, but next I want to bring your attention back to the helpers that we learned about earlier. When you perform any type of work action for your turn, you can also use the effects printed on every helper you have. Helpers each show one of the different types of work actions we just learned about and are resolved the same way. Just be aware you can only use each of your helper cards once during a work action, but you can resolve them in any order before and/or after the action you pick from your sensei board. For example, I might decide to perform this action on my turn, but first I could use this worker to add 2 water tiles to my pond, and maybe I'll put one there and another one here. Then I could use this helper in order to add a lantern to this shore and gain a luck token. Then I might resolve this sensei action to add a foliage tile to my pond, and then next this helper to put a lily on it. To help me keep track of which helpers I've used, I like to rotate them slightly. So this means I have this helper left, which I could use to also place this leftover water tile I have. But you don't have to use a helper if you don't want to. Once I've finished using all the helpers I plan to, I then ensure they're all upright again for the next time I might want to use them during any future work action I perform on my turn. I should also point out, no matter what you do on your turn, you can only interact with your own storage and pond. You never affect other players' pieces. Also, whether you intend to meditate or work on your turn, before and/or after, you can spend any number of your luck tokens by returning them to the supply. For each one you return, as it shows here, you may collect from the supply either 1 foliage, 2 water, or 1 shore tile, or buy any 1 koi tile for 1 coin more than it normally costs. Any of the tiles you gain this way, as usual, are placed into your storage area, or beside your storage if you don't have room. Also, after you've finished working or meditating, and spending any luck tokens you intend to, you then check to see if you qualify for collecting a goal. Remember, goals are optional for your first game, but any you are using will have 1 or more pieces and a card. The card will show the minimum requirements you must satisfy in order to fulfill the goal here at its top. And the symbol we see in this case means that you must have 2 lanterns already in your pond. If you do, then you collect one of the related goal pieces and add it to your pond. This is known as the statue, and it's placed in your pond following the same rules as shore tiles. Each goal you collect earns you points at the end of the game based on what's showing at the bottom, which we'll discuss later. Just be aware a player can never have more than 1 piece from a goal in their pond unless the goal says otherwise. And once all of a goal's pieces have been collected, no one else can claim that goal for the rest of the game. I'd like to quickly point out the requirements for the Waterfall Goal, which shows that you need to have at least 2 well cards. Remember, cards like wells are put face down after you collect and resolve them. So to claim a goal like this, you would then reveal the required cards you have and put them face down again after. You can always look at your own face down cards, but you never have to show them to anyone else or tell anyone what cards you have until a goal requires you to show them. When adding the waterfall to your pond, its center must be put directly adjacent to your spring tile specifically. So it could go here, but not like this, because now it's a water tile touching its center area. Perhaps we do this instead. I'd also like to point out this goal. It has 3 unique branch pieces. A player can still only have 1 of these, and they each have their own requirements shown above the image of the related piece. The requirement includes having a certain number of empty spring and/or water tile hexes in a particular arrangement. In the case of this far left branch, you need to have 3 in a straight line and at least 2 empty foliage tiles anywhere in your pond. For example, here we have the required water hexes and at least 2 empty foliage hexes. If a lily was here, then we could not count this as an empty foliage space towards this goal's requirement. If you do satisfy one of the branch goals, you may choose to collect the related piece and put it in the required water hexes. And then it's okay if you add lilies to the foliage space as it needed during a later turn. That would not cause you to lose this branch. Also, no matter which piece you claim from this goal, you then immediately gain the 3 water tiles it shows here from the supply to add directly to your pond. We aren't going to go through all of the goals, as how they work is shown on their cards and described here in the rule book. So just refer here if you have any questions while playing. And remember, a goal can only be claimed at the end of your turn, but you don't have to claim a goal if you don't want to, even if you could. Just be aware, you can only collect a single goal on each of your turns, even if you satisfy more than one of them. At the very end of your turn, whether you claimed a goal or not, you then have to check your capacity limit. Any tiles you cannot fit into the hexes of your storage must be returned to the supply. However, you can rearrange the tiles within your storage in any way you like and swap them for pieces you have beside your storage. You can also freely rearrange your expansion tiles to make things fit as you want. Once you've decided on a final arrangement, any tiles that do not fit in your storage are returned to the general supply. And that covers taking a turn. You either work or meditate, spending any number of luck tokens before and/or after. Then you can claim a single goal at the end of your turn if you qualify for it. And lastly, you must check the capacity of your storage and return any tiles to the supply that do not fit in it. Then the next player in clockwise order takes their turn, and turns will continue like this around and around the table until the game ends in one of 2 possible ways. Either as soon as there are no more cards in the deck, or the last koi tile has been taken from the supply. When either of those 2 things happen, keep playing until the last player has taken a turn. The last player is the one seated to the right of the first player. Then after, everyone takes one last final turn, and then you go to final scoring. You'll record the victory points players earn on the included score pad, and you'll find the ways points are gained right here on your player reference. You begin by scoring each of the koi in your pond individually, and let's say we were scoring this medium koi first. We'll now find its symbol here on the scoring card, and these symbols mean that it's worth 4 points plus 1 more point for each water lily adjacent to it. So that's 4 plus 1, 2 more, or 6 points. Then the symbol here means you multiply that score by 2 if your koi is completely surrounded by water. This means every side of your koi must be touching a water hex side. It is in this case, so we multiply the 6 points we earned here by 2, making this koi worth 12 points. If this fish had a non-water side adjacent to it, which could just be an empty space or maybe the rocks from this shore, then you would not double its score and you'd just earn 6 points for this koi instead. One of the goals that come in the game include path tiles that look like this, which are placed on water tiles. And even if one is directly adjacent to your koi, this still counts as a water hex side for surrounding a fish with water and earning double its points. So this fish still would in this case and would be worth 12 points. Every other koi in your pond earns points the same way, they're just worth more or less based on their size. All right, next let's see how you score shore tiles that you've added a lantern to. These earn you 1 point for every hex of any kind, whether occupied or empty, anywhere directly along the straight line showing in the image here. For example, if I had a pond like this, the lantern here would earn me 1, 2, 3, 4 points. It doesn't matter that there's an empty space within the line. Every hex within that line earns me a point. A shore without a lantern tile doesn't score me anything. After scoring each of your lanterns, score every parchment you collected. Flip them face up and earn what they show. For example, this earns me 3 victory points for each medium koi in my pond, while this earns me 2 points for each well card I gained. The symbol we see here means you earn 1 point for each unused luck token you still have, so 2 in this case. And then the symbol here means you now earn points for each goal card you satisfied. The victory points a goal provides are shown at its bottom. So if you had added this small branch to your pond, you earn 10 points. The waterfall earns you 8 victory points for adding it to your pond. But as it says in the text below it, if every hex of your spring tile is completely occupied, you earn 16 points for it instead. With the statue, you imagine a straight line going from it, just like the line that goes from a lantern on a shore. You then earn 4 victory points for each separate koi tile that line crosses through. So in this case, we'd earn 4 points for each of these 1, 2, 3 koi. Again, in this video, we're not going to go through how every goal is scored, as how they work is shown on their cards, but you can also refer to this section of the rulebook if you have any questions while playing. With all of the scores awarded, you total them here, and the person with the most victory points wins. If there's a tie, the tied player with the most leftover coins wins. And if there's still a tie, the tied player seated furthest from the start player in clockwise order wins. The game also comes with rules for solo play, which you'll find detailed here in the rulebook, but those rules I'll leave for you to discover on your own. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play koi. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime we post a new video. And if you'd like to support us directly, you can join our Patreon team, which I'll have linked below. But until next time, thanks for watching.